Wasn't too long ago that no one would even touch him because he was being accused of sleeping with underage girls, which honestly, there was no colleagues that came out and defended him because, quite frankly, the stuff that he would show on the floor and the stuff he would brag about on the floor before he was married, and we would always have to walk away from him.
And that is Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin of Oklahoma. This was the second interview in 24 hours where he leveled House Republican Matt Gaetz of Florida. Earlier, Mullin spoke to CNN.
There's a reason why no one in the conference came and defended him, because we had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night. This is obviously before you got married. And so when that accusation came out, no one defended him, and then no one on the media would give him a time of the day. All of a sudden he found fame because he opposed the Speaker of the House back in November, and he's always stayed there. And he was never going to leave until he got this last moment of fame by going after a motion to vacate.
Now, you may wonder, why is this one particular Republican senator going after Gaetz in such graphic detail? Well, several Senate Republicans, including Mullin, felt that House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, for all of his problems, kept things moving through Congress. And these Republican senators were horrified by the effort to dump McCarthy. Also, Senator Mullin served in the House for a decade, overlapping with Matt Gaetz, and Mullin has never been exactly a fan. He said he believed the sordid allegations about Gaetz because of a conversation that he and Gaetz had in the House, while Kristi Noem, who is now governor of South Dakota, was a representative in the House and at the Speaker's podium.
First time I ever met this guy, he walked up to me, and Kristi Noem at the time was at the podium. He was speaker, or he was elected at the time. He was a member-elect, so we was going through conference and orientation, and he walked up to me as Kristi Noem, now Governor Kristi Noem, and he said, "Man, she's a fine," and you can put the B word in place there. And I looked at him, I said, "Really?" Because Kristi is a very close friend of mine, and he turned around and walked away. Later, I will say he came up and apologized for that. But he still shouldn't have said it. It was completely out of line, and this is the type of individual Matt Gaetz is.
Gaetz is also an individual who still faces a House ethics probe over sexual misconduct accusations. He could conceivably be expelled over those accusations, as well as over claims of bribery and illicit drug use. However, the U.S. Justice Department investigated Gaetz for 2 years, and while there was evidence that Gaetz had brought a minor across state lines for sex, and a friend of Gaetz was charged in the case, prosecutors ultimately decided not to bring charges against Matt Gaetz. Nonetheless, a lot of Republicans are disgusted by the way Gaetz treated Kevin McCarthy and want to use the ethics probe as a vehicle for expelling Gaetz out of the House. Ohio Republican Jim Jordan, who is one of the remaining Republican leaders, says that Gaetz should not be dumped. Jordan and Gaetz are friends. Gaetz calls Jordan a mentor. And earlier this year, Gaetz nominated Jim Jordan to be House Speaker.
Jim Jordan is humble, perhaps today humble to a fault. Maybe the right person for the job of Speaker of the House isn't someone who wants it so bad. Maybe the right person for the job of Speaker of the House isn't someone who has sold shares of themselves for more than a decade to get it. Maybe Jim Jordan is the right person for Speaker of the House because he is not beholden to the lobbyists and special interests who have corrupted this place and corrupted this nation under the leadership of both Republicans and Democrats.
But when it comes to corruption, Matt Gaetz is part of the conversation. And never mind his sexual activities, Republican lawmakers say Gaetz has often cozied up to corporate donors, particularly those who make medical devices that are important to Gaetz' elderly constituents. In any case, Gaetz has a target on his back right now over his dating proclivities, and it's not so much the underage sex that seems to bother Republicans. It's Gaetz allegedly bragging about it on the House floor. It's all become endless fodder on cable news.
He was showing images of him doing things with women on the House floor.
What kinds of things, Joe?
Crushing up certain pills and sniffing it, and on the House floor, and members just again
don't like that. Yeah,
they don't like that.
Yeah. Considered inappropriate by almost every across ideology. I think that's kind of unites the parties.
Yes, the parties are united against bragging about your sexual conquests, of course, except when it involves Donald Trump. In that case, Republicans are like, whatever. Ironically, Donald Trump says he supported Matt Gaetz' removal of Kevin McCarthy as Speaker. How's that saying go? Birds of a feather flock together? What a mess. The GOP, the party of family values, keeps proving literally every day that such claims are a sham. Thankfully, at least a few Republicans are going on television and coughing up the awful details.
We had all seen the videos he was showing on the House floor that all of us had walked away of the girls that he had slept with. He'd brag about how he would crush ED medicine and chase it with an energy drink so he could go all night.
By the way, speaking of family values hypocrisy, Colorado Republican Lauren Boebert is facing a fierce backlash over her ongoing eruptions.
I mean, Matt Gaetz has said that he said if he puts this on the floor, he said that if he relies on Democratic votes, he will no longer be Speaker. Sure, but if he puts it on the floor,
my focus is getting the federal government funded.
She was indeed vaping, as well as she and her companion explicitly groping each other repeatedly while they were in their seats.
Check out that video at the link below. I'm David Shuster. Thanks for joining us.